Okay, we're back for shading. We threw in the darkest darks and a little bit of the mid-tones, not really, but most of the darkest darks. I fixed two elements. I kind of warped the bottom of this, standing at an angle. I fixed it a little bit, but I hopefully will get it working better as we start to shade. Okay, we're gonna go in. I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in my my background spaces. So I'm going to go with my absolute furthest back space. Then I'll work a little bit on here and then come onto the objects because I like to do that and like to make that happen and then pull forward. Because if you end up having, if you end up messing it up, the back is usually pushed down a little bit more, especially since this is a lighter background, and it's okay if it's not quite as defined because it's behind, and then that way the objects are sitting on top of a well-defined ground. Alright, so now I want to bring in some light tones. It's my computer. I'm trying to upload at the same time, so hopefully it's not making a lot of too much noise. I'm trying to upload the first video before I go on to the next one. They're starting to get at what was working perfectly fine is now giving me trouble, and I don't understand what we're doing. I'm doing wrong and what's happening. So I'm trying to work out my problems to get all these videos up online for you. There's a problem with one of them with sound. I'm trying to fix it, and if it's really bad, just let me know, and if I have to, I'll have to redo that whole video, because I don't know what the sound, that the hummy sound is, so we're kind of like being overly sensitive to sound right now, because we don't know what we did wrong in that video. Alright, so I want to put this background in. I've got some beautiful shadows, I got some bright lights, so I just rubbed just got some gray in there to have some space to kind of move it around. I've got that that Mr. Clean scrubby pad again. I bought a package of them, and I kind of like it. I'm ripping mine apart. They're too long. They actually work good to clean the kitchen stove too. So I'm going to use that to kind of buff my grays, because I want this mostly gray. And then I want a little bit of tone, because when you go under this lamp, it gets a little, of course it catches some darks right there. So we want to get in there, but I want to lighten it again. So I'm going to get in there and lighten it and soften that. And come right up to the object itself and go into this nice dark that I have happening right here. And that is where the background hits the plane, so that's background plane, that's the horizon or plane line coming through we talked about. Knowing where that is, and that can actually help activate a lot of space in your drawing. So we're going to get in there, put that in, happy with that, put that in gently there, kind of, it's wide and then goes very, very narrow right here. So I'm going to bring that in. And then we have a beautiful kind of wrinkle here in the fabric, and catching because of the wrinkles, some nice shadows right there. Let's drag those in. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the background. I want it to be part of the drawing, but I don't want to spend a lot of time at it. If I can do it quickly, I'm always happy. And this really buffs out some nice dark. Sometimes it takes up too much, so you have to be careful when you use it. When you really want to pull some darks out, it does a good job. It's a little hard to control, but it does a good job of removing. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm going to pull some lights right back in here, because it needs it. I'm going to pull some lights right here, and I'm just going to see if the erasure marks work for me here, because I kind of like that. I want this not to be so just kind of murky. I want it a little brighter. Okay, try that. Step back. Alright, that's good for now. If we have time, we'll go back to it. Let's get this side now. This side was a little more dramatic, so that's what I liked about it. I'm going to go in with this to buff right around here, because this was quite a bright light. I talked about that rounded kind of light off of that square shape, and I really liked it. So I want to pull that back in. I want to make that happen, shape it, and then maybe I'm going to try just lightening, because it is the background space, and I can also re-establish the edges of my, can you check, Ted, the lighting, because our outside light just changed again. Make sure this isn't getting too dark and we don't need to turn the overhead light on for them to see, because it just changed. Something just happened in the atmosphere outside.
It just started raining, I can hear it.
It started raining again, yeah. My light is driving me crazy again with lighting. If I have all my lights on in the studio, the image gets too washed out. But if I don't want you to be in the dark. Can you
Seems
see
okay
well?
to me.
Seems okay? Alright, good. We'll keep going. It's a nice moody light to draw by, but I want to make sure you can see it. Alright, so that is good. I'm happy with that. It's the continuation of that tone, but it's a little darker and a little more dramatic. And now this was that interesting fold that I liked. So I'm going to keep that happening there. I'm going to go against the body. And again, this is where you can fix problems with if you're, it was a little too fat, so I went in and cut it. So just make anything that you had overlapped with your drawing, make it part of the background now, part of the background shading. And that way you can control your charcoal when you're drawing. Alright, so this is nice and dark. This is nice and dark. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use this eraser and just lighten it, just subtly. That's good. Alright. Step back, and I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to move on from here. And now we're going to go into this wood plane. The wood plane is going to be a little darker because it's an A. This is a color canvas, and this is the color of wood. So it's overall going to be darker. So we're going to go in there and darken it. And then we're going to try to bring in also the wood pattern, wood grain pattern. And we also have our cast shadows happening here from the object itself. Okay. We have a beautiful shadow happening right here, right there. And we have an interesting kind of subtle dark right there. We have a light, a nice, beautiful, narrow little light that comes like that. Pulls out straight there, but rounds there. Okay? There we go. I like that. And then we have some of the patterning from the wood itself coming in. Darker. Alright, so I've toned this because we have to tone it, but inside this circle, and I still want to indicate the circle itself, the circle of dark cast shadow, and the pattern simultaneously, so it's like doing a whole bunch of things. And there's some interesting lights that happen in here that I want to make sure I get. So I'm going to go back in and cut those in a little bit more, but kind of finesse them. Let me step back. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's move on. This is the actual tape where I glued it. So let's draw right over top of the tape to make sure, that when I pull the tape off, again, I don't get that halo, it draws straight off. I've been taping to the board because it doesn't move when I'm drawing. Alright, for you to see it. This is my shadow. So I kind of hopefully didn't make it too big, but I'm going to leave it for now. This has got a nice dark, oh, I see what I've done. This is not my shadow. I've messed up. This is my electrical cord. Remember we talked about that. And it is under here. And under that electrical cord, there's a very little bit of light that we have to have. And it has its own cast shadow right here as it goes into that dark shadow. Okay? So we have to make that happen. And inside that cast shadow, we also have pattern. Okay? There we go. Should be good. That's okay. Alright, now let's go. This is the lighter triangle of light from the lamp itself. So like over here, we can kind of make that happen. So I'm going to try first darkening where I want it even darker. So that I have my darks going on here. And I have a nice, they meet beautifully right there. Okay. We have to play with that electrical cord, but we will. I think we'll just leave it for now. I want to darken these a little before I go any further because I'm losing them in my shadows as I rub. So I'm going to bring that pattern of the wood grain back out before now I'm going to just take the dirt on my hand, and this is a lighter tone that we want to happen here. And if we have to, we'll go in and remove, which I think we'll end up doing. Looks actually pretty good. Okay, excellent. Alright.
You're at 15 minutes.
Okay. So we need to bring this down. Alright, so now what we're going to do, before we lighten, is we're going to get in there and play. I'm going to just use my fingers to draw with. And I'm going to give the pattern of the wood grain more interest, more kind of some thin lines, thick lines of pattern, repetitive line of pattern, some subtle things that disappear. Try to mimic what I see the wood grain actually doing. So that's pretty good. That's good. Get it in here. Not hit it with my charcoal either, because that'll make a hard line. Alright, now what we're going to do, because I want this triangle of light to glow, so I'm going to take my kneaded eraser, and I'm going to try flattening it out as much as I can, and pulling over that to get that to glow. And I'm going to pull it kind of flat, because again, this is the flat plane, and I want it to be perceived as laying down this way. So I may even make it, sometimes you can make it darker and lighter in the front, or vice versa, to get that kind of laying down effect. That helps. Now I'm going to step back after I do this and see if it's doing what I need it to do, which is to kind of, I need it to glow. And I think that this shouldn't be quite so harsh. It should be a little lighter because it's kind of got a glow. I'm going to mess up what I worked to kind of get nice and smooth. And let's step back, take a clean part of my hand, try to rub it back. That's pretty good. I still want it a little softer. I'm gonna try this, my magic eraser thing. See if I can get a pads. How's that? Oh, that's pretty good. Alright. So I am going to leave that alone for now, and then try playing with it later if I have time, and if it pulls, I look at it and go, oh, I don't like that anymore. Alright. Let's go in with my black Conte crayon and really work up the electrical cord, and then we'll go into the body of this lamp. Because the electrical cord goes up and goes behind, so it kind of does a little dippy thing like that. It kind of acts like a snake. It has lights and darks in it, so this is where the one in my hair that I kept up there all this time comes in, because probably all we have to do is pull some light in it, like this, pull some light for you to see it again. There we go. And then we're going to use this to really make it stand out against the dark of the ground. And this does not behave like charcoal. It tends to be a little darker, and it tends to not smudge as much. Okay. Alright. It's going to have, because it's in that hub of light, it's going to have some light coming on it right here. Some light on that cord there. And I'm happy with that. Right now, it does have where it goes up in the air, coming off of here and going right to here. It does have a cast shadow right there. So we want to bring that cast shadow in. And make it happen. Timekeeper, how much time do I have before I have to jump?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I tell you every time.
Okay, good. This is good. Alright, now I'm happy. I'm doing that because I'm now having a hard time seeing the drawing, and I think it's better. It's gotten even darker outside in the rain. Alright, so I am going to now start shading this, but I'm going to go back to this because I'm not that happy with it now that the light's on and I can see it better. But let's get in and start shading the actual vase itself. We want to create a nice round shape like we did with the egg. So the object is going to go this way. And it may look like I made a big black mergy mess, and in some ways I did, but in some ways now I'm going to spend more time removing charcoal, and all else fails and I can't get it the tone I need again, the light tone, I can easily add white. Okay. So let's go in. This eraser, I want to lighten up this. I actually want to go in and very gently very purposefully create a brighter triangle of light right there. That's better. Happier with that. Alright. Which cuts into that shape right there. That's my edge. Now on that edge, I have a light here. I have a light here. So I want to go in and start to shade that, pull that out like this. I'm also going to pull out some of this here. Let's step back and see what I've achieved there. Is it good enough? Is it not good enough? I have a good middle, but I do not have good sides. This is good. This is good, but I want some light in here. There we are. It's better. I want some light back in here. That's better. Got a very bright light right here. There we are. Comes across like that. This happens here. This happens right here. Got a nice light. See how we're literally, I'm just drawing with my eraser at this point, as I have enough charcoal on my paper that I need to mostly take away. I'm adding here because it needs it. I took away too much. But I want this to stay nice and bright. And then I have this happening here, which needs to get a little lighter. And I need to step back and look at what I've got. I like that. It's flattening a little, and I'm not sure why I keep doing that in this drawing. I think it's time to define edges now. And it's probably time to end soon. This is the wrong charcoal. I want this one. Alright, so I want this back. I need to define this edge again. So let's go back in here and define. We can define this edge by allowing this background space to get a little darker.
5 minutes.
Okay. And we can lighten up the object itself, which I like because it's a little dark there. Alright, so define and let it go. Now right here, I want to define this edge of this object right there. So I'm going to create it with my thumb, pull it in, pull it in. Alright, good. There is an interesting light coming in at an angle right here. I want to use it. See if it kind of activates that space a little bit. That's good. And then there's dark on the opposite side of it. So it's almost like a false edge. But it seems important to the actual.
4 minutes.
Okay, good. Now before I'm done, I need to lessen this. That's good. I like that. That works. Now this seems almost too flat. So what am I doing wrong here? This is an angle, and this comes out. I'm doing everything correctly, but it's just not reading the way I want it to. So let's cut it a little tighter. Angle it that way more. Like that. And define it again out here. Erase. here so that you can see I've made it a little fatter. And then
3 minutes.
we're gonna step back and we're gonna cut here. And the next drawing, the rest of this drawing is going to be fixing this problem I have here, because one side is higher than the other, so which is correct, I gotta figure that out, and getting in the detail and the lampshade.